Welcome students, in this series of fast track dental materials I will be covering just the important points from each and every chapter of dental materials, and I am very sure from these videos the topics, the statements, the liners which we use are definitely major things will be going to come in your main exams. So let us start with the first one. It is a quick revision and I am very sure you must have noted down during our live classes and the classes in the digital classroom program that is on your mobile phone. So if you just quickly want to revise the entire chapter, here we start. Let me start with the chapter which attracts many questions, that is bonding. I will not be explaining you concepts in this. This is just a quick revision. Just keep on revising and noting down the important points. The scientist name involved are Buonocore, Bowen, Nakabayashi, Kanka and Gwinnett, and the Fujiyama. Okay, it will be look like very fast because we have to cover a lot of syllabus in this. Buonocore gave the concept of acid etching with phosphoric acid, that is the 37% is above 50%. There was a formation of DCPM which was inhibiting the further etching. Bowen gave the first resin which was based on NPG GMA. Nakabayashi gave the concept of hybrid layer. Kanka and Gwinnett gave the concept of wet bonding. Fujiyama gave the total etch technique, now called etch and rinse technique. Etch and rinse, E&R technique. The first commercially available bonding agent was Severiton. It was based on GPA DMA and it was a self-etching type. Amongst the etchants, remember E for etching. The word etching we actually use with enamel. Dentine we don't etch with the higher acid like phosphoric acid. Only neutral pH acid is your EDTA. Otherwise phosphoric acid is a very strong acid which will dissolve the inorganic portion of the enamel. Type 1, type 2, type 3, when your core is dissolved, periphery is intact. Periphery is dissolved, core is intact, and it's a mixed. This has got honeycomb appearance, this has got cobblestone appearance, and this has got pitted enamel with map-like appearance. Pitted enamel with map-like appearance. Let's move further. In etchant, the liquid and the gel form is available. Gel form is more preferred because it gives you the control over the application. We don't want to etch the dentine, we want to etch only the enamel part. The liquid is converted to gel by addition of colloidal silica or the polymer beads. The same are even used in your microfill composites. So let us move further in this etching time. The standard one as per the latest edition of Philips for a permanent tooth is 15 seconds. Rinsing time is 20 seconds. If suppose you have etched a tooth and the patient wipes the tongue, that is the contamination. The first step is remove contaminant, that is you rinse it, then re-etch for 10 seconds and then re-rinse for 20 seconds. Okay, among deciduous tooth, etching time is more than the permanent teeth because it contains thicker layer of aprismatic enamel. This also solves your two more questions, like why deciduous teeth are more milky white in appearance and more of you can say opaque in appearance, because the thickness of aprismatic layer is much higher in deciduous than in permanent. Now this is very controversial, so we will go with the standard norm. Since 15 is for permanent, deciduous will go for 20 to 30 seconds, and rinsing time just add 10 more seconds to it. Okay, for rinsing time just add 10 more seconds, that is around 30 to 40 seconds. Rinsing has to be very thorough. See, etchant is one thing you have to remove. Etchant is that component of bonding agent assembly. Bonding agent assembly contains primarily conditioner, primer and bond. Conditioner is synonymous with your etchant. Okay, etchant is that component which will come inside and it will go away. It will not stay in the tooth. Okay, This is the thing which you have to remove, otherwise like etchant is the main role of etchant is it will remove the smear layer. Smear layer is tightly bound layer which is at the 5 to 10 megapascal is the bond strength of the smear layer. It is attached around 5 microns deep inside the etchant. It removes your causes demineralization. Demineralization extent is approximately 10 microns in enamel. This is again controversial, but this is the latest one as per the new edition width of the Philips. Okay, 10 microns is the demineralization of the enamel rod. So you can say hydroxyapatite removal caused by the phosphoric acid etchant on the surface of enamel. Previous editions were writing 5 to 50, but your Philips says either mark 10 microns or it is 10 to 20 microns. So 10 is the minimum damage which is being there. Also, by doing so, it is increasing the surface energy. One thing you have to understand, you have to have higher surface energy or surface tension, I would say. Both are different in physics, but for DM, Philips says they are the same. Okay, if any surface you want to get liquid go inside, the surface energy, surface tension has to be really high. So this is important, all about your etchant part. Let us move to the dentine. Okay, dentine is different. Dentine has got 50% on an average inorganic, 30% organic, 20% is water. So we cannot use this much inorganic portion like phosphoric acid on the same like we were using on enamel. We are not able to use it on the dentine. So you have to understand dentine requires a different system. We usually use self-etching system. It means etchant will be combined with primer or will maybe the bond at times because it will reduce the bond strength. The etching strength. The etching strength usually used in self-etching system is near about 20% of acid strength, and the commonly used acids are polyacrylic acids. Okay, the same ones which are generally used in GIC and zinc polycarboxylate. The purpose is to have milder etching effect because dentine also contains collagen. Collagen, if exposed to a lot of acid, if you expose it to a lot of acid for a good duration of time, even for 10-15 seconds, it will undergo dehydration and collapse. Ultimately, the entire collagen will collapse, your enamel will also become undermining. So this we don't want. Okay, so main component after etching is we have to discuss with the primer. Primer. Why primer? Because primer is that ingredient which is going to rehydrate the collagen. The main role of the primer is to rehydrate the collagen, which is like lost its hydration in the mild etching also, which was taken part in the self-etching bonding system. So primer is rehydrating collagen. It is increasing the lost surface energy of dentine. I told you we have to revive the energy. Plus, actually primers are what? Primers are hydrophilic monomers dissolved in highly volatile solvents like EVA or AVA, ethanol, water, alcohol, water, acetone, ethanol, water, acetone, and alcohol, water, acetone, whatever may be the combinations they are giving. Basically, if somebody asks you what does primers do, the main purpose, remember P for primer, P is equal to pani. Any option which is marking the role of primer, the best option would be the option which is related to the rehydration of collagen. You have to understand one thing, there might be many roles, like the question at times gives you all the four are correct. It's not about choosing the correct, it's about choosing the best option. Okay, so this is the main purpose. And the role of primer ingredients, I have told you primer will include hydrophilic monomers. These can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 HEMA. These can be MAC10. Okay, HEMA is the most commonly used. 4-MET, 4-META. 4-META one shows true bonding, true chemical bonding with the dentinal surfaces, and 10-MDP. These are the examples of your hydrophilic monomers. It contains another monomer called TEC-DMA, which was asked last year also. Okay, TEC-DMA, but it is hydrophobic. TEC-DMA is present in bonding agent also, in composites also. The main purpose is it acts as a dilutant monomer. It acts as a dilutant monomer. So these are few points which you have to remember. Along with that, it is containing your highly volatile solvent in the form of ethanol, water, or acetone. Not the three together, either of the three are used. Okay. These solvents have water chasing effect. Water chasing effect is shown by the solvents, that is they push the water. primer has to be applied in 1 to 5 coats. Etchant is only 1 coat, primer is in the 1 to 5 coats. Okay, primer stays in the tooth, and primer need not to be light cured, or it is not a chemical curing system, it is just going to stay there. After that, and then comes the main ingredient, that is your bonding agent. Bonding agent, the basic formula is MRX concept. M stands for unsaturated methacrylate group. Okay, X stands for the group capable of reacting with siliceous material, and R is a spacer group. Maximum time the question has come on R. What does R do? R is a spacer group which gives you flexibility, mobility, and increase reactivity for M group. Okay, answer lies in this. What does R do? Remember, MRX, flexibility, mobility, reactivity. Okay, this is the basic, you can say, fundamental of bonding agent. Bonding agent is nothing but a resin in the liquid form, plus it contains some amount of filler particles, okay, for giving it some body and strength. That's why you even have the yellowish tinge, because of the fillers present. There are unfilled bonds also present, which we use in composites for the in between the increasing the cohesion and removing the oxygen inhibition layer. Examples of brand names: commonly Margin bond and Helio bond. Helio bond was once asked in your PGI papers. Now coming to the basic composition of bonding agent. Nowadays we are using only dentine bonding, because DBA can be used in enamel but not vice versa. DBA is related to your hydration factor, which is given only in the dentine. The basic ingredient will contain the monomers like UDMA, which are nowadays lot. Same, it acts as a dilutant monomer, it decreases the viscosity, increases the flow. Okay, let us see the other ingredients which are related to bonding agents. We have light cure or chemical cure. Always remember, whenever you are using light cure bonding agent, you have to use light cure composites. Whenever you are using chemical cure bonding agents, you have to use chemical cure composites. Okay, vice versa is not at all allowed. Okay, and the interchangeability is not allowed, it has to be synonymous. Then we have dual cure also, which gets activation from light, but it is taken over cure by chemical reaction. Further curing is by chemical curing method. Okay, the reaction of curing actually has got 4 steps, that is activation. Okay, activation, and like this is a part of initiation, chain propagation, chain transfer. This is the method of curing of resin, we even do in your denture based resin. And then is termination. Okay, initiation includes the activation process. Remember, light cure, activated composites, the activation source is your this light. Okay, that is the activator in that. Let us see the other ingredients. If we have a light cure bonding agent, light cure bonding agent will have this photosensitizer, that is your camphoraquinone. Then photo initiator, that is your tertiary amine. Most commonly used is N,N-dimethyl paratoluidine, N,N-dimethyl paratoluidine or N,N-diethyl paratoluidine. Either of the two are commonly used. Photo initiator. The confusion, usually students are not able to remember which is a sensitizer and which is an initiator. So easy to remember is camera has got sensor. So sensitizer word goes with your camphoraquinone. This is the easiest way to remember. You can have your own way. Please don't mind if it doesn't match your own mnemonics. Okay. Then chemical cure will have benzoyl peroxide. Okay. Dual cure will have this camphoroquinone tertiary amine combination plus the light chemical activators, that is BPO. This is BPO. Then we have other ingredients added like desensitizer. Sensitizer is added, that is glutaraldehyde. Then antimicrobial agents are added like MDPB, important monomer, many a times being asked. Also paraben has shown this antimicrobial action. Then fluorides are being added. Basically the newer ones are adding zirconium fluoride nowadays. Then fluorescing agent, not in this, in composites we add, sorry. Then we add this collagen stabilization molecule. Collagen stabilization molecule, that is benzalkonium. Benzalkonium chloride, and it is important, it inhibits MMPs, matrix metalloproteinases, that is by inhibiting the protease enzyme, it is preventing my protein to undergo degradation, that is collagen, which is present in this. Now let us do the classification. Before that, chalo, bonding agent, if it is a light cure, the curing time on an average is 20 seconds. It has to be cured and it is curing seconds. Always remember, if suppose this is the resin tire produced by my etchant and suppose this is 15 microns, I've told you minimum 10, on an average 10 to 20. The depth of the penetration of bonding agent, suppose my primer goes up to this level, so bonding agent will also go up to this level. Bonding agent will not reach this stage. So this you remember that primer decides the depth of penetration of bonding agent, especially in the dentinal systems. Okay, the basic generations which are important are based on that the questions are coming many a times, that is 4th generation, 5th generation, 6th generation, 7th generation. 4th is you have etchant, you have primer, you have bond. In 3 different categories, etchant is available in your syringe form, primer in one bottle, bonding in another bottle. In this, etchant is available separately, prime and bond are together in the one bottle. Okay. 6th generation will have etchant and primer together and bonding agent is in a separate bottle. This we have all 3 together. This is also called as all-in-one generation, all-in-one, the 7th generation. This 6th and 7th are called as self-etch generations, and these are total etch or etch and rinse generation. Only this generation is the one in which you apply only the 1 coat of primer, rest everywhere you have to apply 1 to 5 coats. Okay. Moving to the classification of self-etch systems. Self-etch systems also have a classification. First is ultra mild SE approach. Okay, this is the name given. Second is mild SE approach. Third is your intermediately strong SE approach, and 4th is strong SE approach. In this, the pH, it's based on the pH, is around 2.5 or more than that. This is pH is around 2, pH is 1 to 2, and pH is less than equal to 1. This is actually is equal to etch and rinse generation or total etch generation, which was given by Fujiyama, and these 3 are majorly categorized as the self-etch. Okay, if you are doing pure dentinal cavities, then go for this. If you are doing enamel cavities, you can use 3, 2 and 1 depending upon the depth of the cavity and the dentine involved. But in enamel, you start with, preferably you can use 3 or 2 or 1, whichever you are comfortable with. Okay, one thing like you can remember in this chapter, again I am telling you, etchant word wherever we use, we mean 37% orthophosphoric acid, we means only enamel usage. That is, if I have a cavity like this, okay, and this is my etchant to be used, etchant I will be used only in this region. That is called selective etch technique. I will not be using such a strong acid in the dentine, where I will be using only the self-etch bonding systems. Okay, so pure enamel cavities are which one? Like laminates and veneers. You have class 1, that is extending only to enamel, that is your Pitt and Fisher cavities. They are majorly the examples of your pure enamel cavities. Rest everywhere we are finding dentine. Even here class 1, 3, extending only to your enamel. Usually dentine you can have, classical example is class 2, okay, or class 1 penetrating into the dentine, or any other defect. And especially like cases of post and core where you are dealing with root dentine, you are not going to use any other thing except the self-etching bonding system. Hope this quick revision, fast forward revision is going to help you, and we're going to revise the entire subject like this in very short time. And I'm very much sure all those who have attended the lecture, they are able to recall the fastest. Please pardon me for the speed, but it is required. This is revision. This is not the main course dish. That is not the main stake lecture, but it yet covers almost 90% of your point which are relevant from the chapter. Thank you. Let us start with the chapter on casting, one of the most important chapters for dental materials. Okay, so the scientist name important here is William Taggart. Okay, William Taggart. William Taggart gave lost wax technique. Then you have Carl Schew. Carl Schew gave hygroscopic setting expansion. Okay, we have a investment material. Three types of investment material as per the classification: gypsum bonded, phosphate bonded, and ethyl silicate bonded. Okay, gypsum bonded is for conventional gold alloys. G for gypsum, G for gold. Okay, it is used for onlays, inlays, FPD, even RPD, cast partial denture, but in gold, all in gold. Phosphate bonded, P for phosphate, P for, you can remember, PFM. Also for pressable ceramics. Again for onlays, inlays, crowns, FPD, it is for use. Also it is used for base metal alloys. Okay, see, gypsum bonded is used when the alloy temperature is less. Phosphate bonded is used when the alloy temperature is very high. Then you have ethyl silicate bonded, especially for cast partial dentures made with base metal alloys, only for cast partial dentures. Then your gypsum bonded investment material is further classified into type 1, type 2, type 3. Remember, type 1, 2, 3 is a notation for gypsum bonded, not for, like, phosphate bonded is not type 2. Okay, so gypsum bonded further is classified as type 1, 2, 3. Type 1 is when you are using thermal expansion. This is called thermal expansion type. It is used for inlays, onlays, crowns. Then type 2 is for hygroscopic setting expansion type. Again for inlays, onlays, and crowns. 3 is used in the construction of partial dentures with gold. Basically all three are going to be used only for the gold. The standard, you can say, investment material for reference for the studies is all gypsum bonded. For any investment material, like we start with gypsum bonded investment material will have two things. One is binder, another is refractory. Okay, binder is the one which gives strength, refractory gives you expansion. So binder here is gypsum, that is calcium sulfate hemihydrate. Calcium sulfate hemihydrate. Refractory can be basically silica based. You have to remember like this: CQTF, cristobalite, quartz, tridymite, and fused silica or fused quartz. Fused silica or fused quartz. Then you add other things. These are called modifiers. In modifiers, there are three types of things. One is reducing agent. These are all when we are talking about gypsum bonded. Then we have boric acid or sodium chloride. They are together called as balancing agents. Okay, and third is oxalates. Oxalates role is prevent sulfur contamination. See, gypsum has got sulfur, so on heating sulfur gases are going to be produced. So to prevent the sulfur contamination, we add oxalate. Reducing agent is carbon or powdered copper. Both are starting from C. Okay, the purpose of reducing is basically to provide non-oxidizing atmosphere. Then boric acid, this is important, prevents detrimental shrinkage. This is an MCQ very oftenly asked. Detrimental shrinkage of gypsum above 600 degrees centigrade. Above 600. Also, these balancing agents regulate setting expansion and setting time. Setting expansion and setting time. Regarding the refractory, there is a graph like this is graph is for fused silica or fused quartz. Then this here is quartz. Okay, then you have something like this. This is for cristobalite, and then this is sorry, this will go slightly down actually. Okay, tridymite, CQTF. This is the order of expansion versus temperature. Expansion versus temperature. Okay, so highest expansion is shown by cristobalite. Then you have factors affecting expansion. We have three types of expansion. First, we will discuss about normal setting expansion. Factors affecting: higher the gypsum content, higher is the normal setting expansion. Higher is the exothermic heat of reaction. Okay, is directly proportional to the increased in NSE. Lower water powder ratio will increase NSE. Thinner wax patterns will also increase NSE. Softer inlay wax will also increase NSE. Then most important for your exams is HSC. The factors which control HSC is composition. HSC is directly proportional to silica content and finer particle size of silica. Okay, then water powder ratio. HSC is inversely proportional to water powder ratio. Then spatulation. HSC is directly proportional to spatulation. Then shelf life. HSC is inversely proportional to shelf life. Okay, then time of immersion. HSC is directly proportional to the sooner you immerse in water. That is, if the time is less, HSC will be more. Confinement. HSC is inversely proportional to confinement. Then amount of added water. Amount of added water to the overall investment material. This is going to determine the magnitude of HSC. This is the only factor which will determine the magnitude. Rest all the factors are going to affect either by increasing or decreasing. Okay, then we have phosphate bonded investment material. Here you have binder, refractory, and you have other agents. Binder is magnesium oxide, ammonium phosphate. Okay, this is a base, actually this is an acid. Then again refractory, you have silica, cristobalite or quartz, we are using it here. Other agents include colloidal silica and carbon. In gypsum bonded, I would ask you to just one point which is very important. Binder is giving the strength, that is the gypsum. So minimum gypsum should be more than is equal to 15%. Okay, though we are like looking forward for a very high expansion, but expansion should not be at the cost of the binder. It should not be very high, like you are using refractory material and the strength of the overall investment is weak, otherwise it will crack. Then you have ethyl silicate bonded. Ethyl silicate bonded, important is binder is silica, other places silica was refractory. Okay, so binder is silica. Okay, and in this there is a term green shrinkage. Just remember, green shrinkage is a term used with ethyl silicate bonded investment material. When the silica gel is dried at temperature less than 168 degrees centigrade. Okay, during the drying cycles, the gel loses alcohol and water to form concentrated hard gel. This process is called as green shrinkage, and it is not good for the investment material. So I'll just give you one basic diagram of investment material. Okay, we have this like this casting ring. One thing I want you to remember is that the crowns are all upside down. If you remember this diagram, you can answer easily anything. This is like a ring liner, casting ring liner made up of asbestos most of the times. This is what we call as sprue or sprue channel. This is like made up of plastic or wax. Whenever you are using wax sprue, you have to use one stage burnout. Whenever you are using plastic sprue, you have to use two-stage burnout. Okay, then you can have multiple crowns also together casted. The distance between them should be minimum 3 millimeters. Okay, minimum should be 3 millimeters. Then they fill up your entire this with your investment material. If you remember this diagram, then we can discuss many things. But before that, just we should know a few things about sprue. Sprue, also called as sprue former, also called as sprue pin. Okay, the sprue diameter is actually based on the density of the alloy used. If your alloy is dense, you have to use bigger sprue diameter. If it is not dense, you can use thinner sprue also. Also, it depends on the what do you call the casting ring size also. If your casting ring is not very wide, you cannot use a thicker sprue. Also, if your sprue is thin, okay, as compared to a thick sprue, and you want to use for a dense metal, you can incorporate a design like this, and this part is called as sprue reservoir to maintain the constant supply of the molten metal. Then sprue position. Sprue should be positioned at a flared angle. It should never be constricted. It should never be constricted. If you remember these, we can easily discuss the porosities in the later part. Okay, it should not be constricted. Okay, sprue attachment. Sprue position should be at an angle of 45 degree. Okay, it should not be less than that. It should never be 90 degree. It should never be 90 degree. Then sprue length. Sprue length should be according to the investment material used, gypsum bonded or phosphate bonded. See, coming back to the same diagram, this distance is important. The distance from the tip of the crown or tip of the wax pattern till the top of the ring should be 6 to 8 millimeter in gypsum bonded, 3 to 4 millimeter in phosphate bonded. This is very important data, and this distance is maintained by this length of sprue, or you can say this distance will determine the length of the sprue. You cannot alter this. Okay, so these are all about the sprue. So once your investment is done, your wax pattern, then the next step is grinding of investment, that is remove the shiny skin from the top of the casting ring. This is to basically make a your investment ring porous or permeable so that your gases can escape. Okay, then you have to heat up your material and all that. Heat up your casting ring, molten metal will be there, and ultimately your casting will take place. The total expansion as per your Phillips is for gypsum bonded investment material, maximum expansion is 1.3, phosphate bonded is 2% overall, which is permissible. Okay, then to melt your molten to melt your metal, basically you are supposed to use a conventional technique which is commonly used and asked in your papers also, is using a torch flame. Okay, torch flame has got 4 layers. That is you can say a flame will have 4 layers. This outside zone is called oxidizing zone. This is called reducing zone. Third one from top is called as combustion zone. Inner one is called as mixing zone. oxidizing is yellow, reducing is blue, this is green, and this is black. Okay, the heating should be done in the blue zone. Okay, flames are produced by either natural gas or you can say acetylene flames, acetylene plus oxygen. This is used for gold and this is used for base metals. Okay, acetylene is a much higher uh, temperature flame. So when you heat gold, gold changes color from red to orange to white in dull, then white in shiny appearance. If your white shiny is not there, it means your gold is not pure. And when your color turns orange, then it's the time to transfer it from ring to the cradle of the casting machine. Okay, from the furnace to the cradle of the casting machine. Then in this all procedures, like we also use a term called flux. Fluxes are used. Fluxes, F for flux, increase, F for fluidity. A very important MCQ. Also it will increase fluidity, or you can say flow of molten alloy. Fluxes are added. The most commonly used fluxes are powdered charcoal or fused borax powder with boric acid powder. These are the better ones. Best answer is borax or boric acid. Okay, then after this this is done, then you recover your casting. Firstly, the step is quenching. When you recover your casting, put it in a very cold water. This will do the, what it will do, it will put the cracks in the investment material. And ultimately it will be very easy to remove the gypsum. You all have tried removing gypsum from the mixing bowl. Once it sets and you put some cracks in it, it comes out very easily. The next step is pickling. Pickling is important. It is used for gold crowns and bridges. Okay, because we want gold in the purest form. The best pickling agent is 50% HCl. Best one. This is the best answer. Otherwise, we are also using Aqua Regia, which is HCl plus nitric acid in concentration 1:3. Okay, for phosphate bonded investment, we are using hydrofluoric acid. Okay, as such, sulfuric acid is also used. So you have many things. Whenever you are doing pickling, you are not supposed to use steel tongs. Okay, you are supposed to use plastic tongs, or you cover the steel tongs with the plastic. Then you're pickling. After this, that the step is sand blasting. Okay, sand blasting is done with aluminium oxide. Sometimes the word is used in MCQs. Recycled aluminium oxide is used. Okay, under pressure of 100 psi for sand blasting. Then after sand blasting, you remove the screw with double-sided carborundum disc. Double-sided carborundum disc. Then you do the finishing and polishing using different stones are there, like different pink stone, green stone. Okay, all that. Nothing very important in finishing and polishing. And next comes the casting defects. The last part of the topic is casting defects, which is the most important. Defects has got a classification further. That is, defects can be distortion, defect can be surface roughness, and surface irregularities. Distortion and discoloration you can write. Third can be porosity, and fourth can be incomplete or missing detail. See, casting defect not only means porosity, it means distortion is also a casting defect, discoloration is a defect, surface roughness, surface irregularity is also a defect, incomplete or missing detail is also a defect. Porosity is just one part of it. Okay, distortion is related to impression technique, cast pouring. Okay, major gross errors, like if you are not doing it properly, it will lead to distortion, or your wax patterns are not proper, then your crown will be distorted. Discoloration, overheating of the furnace because it attracts oxides. Underheating will also cause discoloration. Carbon inclusions from the graphite crucible. Okay, graphite crucible is used for gold, ceramic crucible is used for PFM and ceramics and other alloys. Then you are using mixture of alloys in same sprue, okay. Then you have surface roughness, surface irregularities. Just remember, surface roughness is present all over the surface. The roughness present all over the surface, or we can say there are imperfections present all over the surface, okay. Then surface irregularity are I for irregularity, I for isolated imperfections, okay, such as nodules, which basically you can count. If you can count, it is irregularity. If you cannot count and it is present all over the entire surface, it is called as surface roughness, okay. Like example is fins. It is caused by rapid heating of the mold. Rapid heating of the mold. Then we come to porosities, which is the most important part of the chapter, and the defects. Porosity also has classification. First is solidification defect. See, if you remember the classification, you remember the porosity very easily. Then you have trapped gases, and third is residual air. I'll make your job very simple. This is my crown, okay. Crown has got top surface, the part which is going into the patient's oral, which is visible in the patient's oral cavity, that is the outer surface. This is the inner surface. Inner surface, I for inner, is also called as I for intaglio surface, okay. Just try and understand, solidification defect is related to what? It is related to the outer surface. Trapped gases means the gases are trapped inside the crown, so they are present inside the crown, okay. And residual air will cause damage on the inner surface or the back portion of the crown. So the porosity here is back pressure porosity. Solidification defect has localized shrinkage porosity, suck back porosity, and micro porosity. Trapped gases have got pinhole porosity, pinhole, gas inclusion porosity, and subsurface porosity. The name itself says, like pinhole, it will be inside. Gas inclusion, inclusion means inside. Subsurface, sub means one below, so below the top surface, the porosity, it is called as subsurface porosity. So also remember, there are four porosities which are three porosities which are associated with the sprue, okay, which are associated with the sprue. Localized shrinkage porosity, suckback porosity, back pressure porosity. All three are related to sprue. Sprue. Rest all are not related to the sprue. So let us see one by one. Localized shrinkage porosity. The main reason is premature termination of molten metal. Okay, mainly occur at sprue casting junction. The cause is sprue length, sorry, sprue diameter is less, okay, or there is no reservoir. So the remedy, the treatment is use reservoir, increase sprue diameter. Then you have suck back porosity. When you are attaching sprue at an angle which is constriction, so because of constriction, lot of metal collects here, and this creates a term called hotspot. This is because of creation of hotspot. So the treatment is make flare, attach the sprue at a flare angle and reduce the temperature by 30 degrees, so that hotspot will cool down and the flow will start in the forward direction. Then you have microporosity. Rapid solidification of mold will cause microporosity. Okay, important is does not depend on sprue. Increase the mold temperature or casting temperature. That is the treatment. Then you have pinhole or gas inclusion. They are basically related to the, you can say, heating of the metal, or you can say gas incorporation during the casting procedure. Pinhole is small spherical porosities. These are large spherical porosities. Okay, treatment is prevent oxidation of flux, oxidation of alloys, that is use flux. Okay, then you have subsurface porosity. Subsurface important is reason many a times are simultaneous nucleation of the solid grains and the gases. See, I told you subsurface means inside only, below the surface here. This porosity will occur when your gas which is trapped inside the mold and the metal, that is your solid grain, are solidifying at the same time. Then it will cause subsurface porosity. Okay, you just have to enter, change rate of entering of molten metal in the mold should be altered. And the last one is back pressure porosity, that is because of trapped gases. When your distance, I told you 6 is to 8 millimeter, 3 is to 4, phosphate bonded, gypsum bonded, this distance is not maintained, it means sprue length is either more or it is less, then the gases which are produced because of the heating of the metal, heating gases are produced, of the casting investment material gases are produced. When they are not able to escape, it will cause back pressure porosity. Most important, it will affect the intaglio surface of the crown or the cavity portion of the crown. Okay, it will not affect the inside, it will not affect the outer surface. So treatment is first proper venting. We did one step called grinding of investment. If the grinding is not done, then also this problem occurs. Second is adjust the sprue length according to gypsum bonded and phosphate bonded, that is this distance are maintained. Okay, and last in the defects was incomplete casting. First we have rounded and incomplete margins. It is because of insufficient casting pressure. Then second is rounded and shiny margins. The moment you see the word shiny, just remember incomplete wax elimination. I'll give you one very good reference. When you're making wax rims or teeth denture during your prostho-pre clinics and all, you all have to make your wax rims very shiny. Okay, so wherever there is a lot of wax strips attached, it will be shiny and you can say smooth texture. So whenever there is a wax left out in the wax pattern or the casting, that wax will cover that area and that will always be very shiny. So this finishes off your chapter. Thank you.